Hey guys, and welcome to the Igloo today. Today I'm going to be talking about a few things in my life as well as the Conan Exiles problem that I've been having a big thing to think about when it came to test live and how everything else is. So let's just get into it. So one, I'm back in school. I'm doing a mixture of programming. I am learning Python as well as I am doing TensorFlow teaching for AI programming and deep learning for one of my teachers as a teacher assistant. So I'm going to be not as often as uploading as I normally would because I am trying to make myself more into programming, deep learning, doing TensorFlow operations, kernel packets, linear regression, so on and so forth. And it's going to be putting a lot of stuff and stress onto me as well as trying to figure out things when I am in the mix of doing stuff. But that's that. So now it is Conan Exiles and the cheating problem and the exploit problem. So on Xbox and PS4, they haven't been updated for the longest time. And they still need to have the longest updates that is more needed than PC. PC is still riddled with hackers as well as exploiters. So they recently fixed one of the ones that I submitted a while ago, which was pushing you with a foundation and ceiling to go underneath the map at any point whatsoever. But there is including more. So they had another dupe come up, and they're going to probably be fixing that. There's also things that can stop complete animations of all of combat. So you can't even PvE on a server based on certain types of things that people are having out there in the world. But it's just there's just so much wrong to it because it all comes down to netcoding as well as just coding in general. Most of the things can be broken because of what's in game, and more of these things that are used are mainly because of exploits instead of hacks. Even though there are hacks out there for Conan Exiles, and there are injections out there for Conan Exiles, the main majority of the game is literally just because of exploits and how you can macro around them on PC. And it's been showing on the downward trend of the popularity as well as other video games like Scum, the ones that I've been covering, as well as a few other things. So besides that one that I just specified, as well as others, they have other things. So best example is that there is a chair that pushes you up, and upon server restarts, it's going to put you at the very top. And it's very bad that this is still a reoccurring issue in Conan Exiles, that they can't fix your origin point when the server restarts or the server crashes. At least they're fixing AI when it comes to overstack loading, which Firespark81 published for his YouTube, even though it was known way before it was on a YouTube channel at all. But it was just other things that I wanted to steer clear away. But now we got to make things more public because they are having a downward spiral when it comes to everything, when it comes to their developments and how they're implementing things. And I'm sorry that I have to be a negative Nancy about this, but when you have your fundamental structure of the game break in so many ways, it just doesn't look well. It doesn't look like it's managed well. Just like with Firespark81's interview, which I'm going to put down in the description below, is that Joel was one to actually say, hey, this is a thing that has been broken, and it's a 2-part series, and he explains it more so than I can ever do because he is one of the lead directors for Conan Exiles. So hinting onto most of it is that they were pushing and pushed and pushed. They brought back the deadline for EA multiple times before it would go to launch because they needed more time to develop it. But at the same time, they were making shortcuts. And those shortcuts are the foundation of the game. Now, when I say these shortcuts, I do mean ambiguously. So they could have been changed, but they weren't because they incorporated the design. So instead of fixing the base game and the netcode and all these issues, they pushed it forward, and then they kept making content after content after content. And what they have right now is their current issue, which is releasing the pet system, adding some new things to combat, releasing a third iteration of DLC when they see the server depletion of their numbers drastically go down, because not that many people are going to use the new DLC, unlike DLC 1, which is still, I would say, exploiting, especially for the medium armor, because you can get that armor for any thrall instead of a certain type of T4 thrall. So you have, right out of the gate, +9 strength armor, which most people will use in different kind of combat scenarios, because the two biggest things that for combat is always been strength and vitality. Even though they have been making strides to improve archery, they do things in extremas, where if it's not super awesome and they see the numbers and they see the analytics, and then they do like what they did with vaults, which they brought it from 600k to 150k. And same thing when it comes to just going around and seeing other things. Most people don't want to just keep playing a game which has the same kind of process as an EA game. It's still, and a lot of people agree with me with this, is that the what they are doing with Test Live and what they are doing with Conan Exiles is that they launched a game and then it was continually made in EA kind of way, because when they released the game, they didn't really have all the content that they wanted to have available to them. Just like what Joel also revealed, that Magic's coming next. Magic, The Purge, and a few other things were revealed in EA during an interview that he had, which he said that he did not want to have put on YouTube itself in the first place, because he knew that he was going to be making false promises. But those false promises carried over because that was the message, and it wasn't clarified later on that that was not the message. Especially when they say, hey, we would like to have a roadmap. Hey, we would like to have this stuff. Hey, we would like to have that stuff. Honestly, I've gotten pissed off and why I'm not really making that much Conan Exiles content myself, because I just don't see that much potential in the game anymore after they literally screwed up again, and screwed up some more. When you have the purge system, then you say it's fixed, and then it doesn't work on most official live servers right now across all platforms. I'm just like, dude, you could have mentioned something, but then you just made it to 0 and said, yeah, it's just going to raid everybody. It doesn't really matter. That's not a fix. Nothing like that is ever a fix. When the purge is still spawning inside the mesh so that you can't really properly get the purge at certain places, that the pathing isn't right, and that everything hasn't been indoctrinated based on the base location of itself because of X, Y, and Z coordinate. It gets frustrating when I saw a survival game for the longest time be like that. And it honestly and truly just and not play the game. Just like with the nerfs, which are going to be coming up, which have been specified in other videos, where you cannot have infinite arrows anymore. And that's good, because we've been asking for that, because they needed to have an inventory system, a slot system, so that they can use arrows instead of just having infinite arrows and explosive arrows, which I commend them for that. But at the same time, it might be little to too late for some kind of fixes that are like this, because they haven't fixed the base game itself, which is the AI, the thrall system, which is also the pet system, which I specified in the other video, which is literally almost a copy and paste of the thrall system before they fixed it. So it all ties down to what they are willing to fix to their return on investment. And that is one of the bigger things which I will highly stress upon, which is, what are they willing to fix? What are they willing to see that their game is going down the shitter, and their Steam numbers as well as their Xbox and PS4 numbers are pretty low right now. It's almost to the point of before EA of the launch of the game where there's 3,000 concurrent people onto Conan Exiles. And a few other YouTubers gave up the idea of doing Conan Exiles or giving it another shot because they haven't fixed the core of their game and their core netcode issues and their core things. But then there's other games that are like Scum, where they fix that kind of issue within weeks and say, we're improving netcode, we're improving everything else, so that you can be able to fundamentally play the game instead of it being unplayable. And that's an EA game that came out like a few weeks ago, maybe a month. But I don't know, like, honestly, as a UE4 like person that I've seen, like, I am not a developer in any regard, and I will say that because it takes a certain passion for somebody to make a game. But when you have to make sure that stockholders, shareholders are happy, like what Funcom has as an issue, and as you can see, their stock is going down as well because it's just continual just regression for this type of game. And you can even see that they're still trying to abide by their shareholders, even more so because they release quarterly videos that they lock from the comments so that they can impede and send out to them that there's something wrong with this. There's something to... Now, again, as a publisher and a developer, they have had so many hurdles to come on over, and to their even new games, because they're considered a game title as well as a publisher title with the same name, Funcom. Their newer releases are getting flack for it because of their design decisions that they did for Conan Exiles, and people are screaming those chats, fix your game, fix your game, fix your game, fix your game. And they can't distinguish between the two because they know that this is a publisher versus this is over here. But it goes back again to what they've done. They've promised multiple things, and then they said they didn't promise it. They tried to get the art community at first with mounts, but then it didn't work for their mapping and architecture because they made those shortcuts in the first place to get an EA conceptualized game when it came out normally. And if you've seen and you scrolled in my channel, I've put a lot of chips down for Conan Exiles to see about success and to see everything that has been done. And honestly, I don't think that I see the success anymore with this. I see more success with Scum because they have an idea, they have a mission, and they are determined to get it done. And they are a smaller team of 16 to 17 people compared to a publisher/game company that is on the same engine that is still having netcode issues after launch to this day with using even the same G-Portal service that Scum is using. Even though they have a more ambiguous term for it, I see more potential in a game that is like that than right now for Conan Exiles' current state of the game. And I say that because I see the putting faith into it. I see on how people are acting. I see on how responsive they are, not only on Discord, but also on their page and linking articles. So they not only do that, but then at the same time on Steam, where they announce everything and they have a very ambiguous content, whereas on Conan Exiles, that they locked all the normal forum posts that you can actually do and articles where you would see it on the platform of Steam, where, yes, it can be a very toxic place on the Steam discussion page. But at the same time, you got to make sure that people are going to be on their platform and they're able to express their opinions instead of having partial censorship, which has been done, even though it is their right. It is their right for them to censor what they want to put out on a platform because it is their IP. But the minute that you do that, the internet just reacts. And they will react hard. Whether it's on Reddit, whether it is on Steam, whether you have the admin police or mod police that is on Steam, it will be done. It is a thorough and honest discussion to what has been seen and what people feel about when they see a right of theirs not being exercised on a platform that they will love. So that just ties into even further and further things that have been wrong on a manager level, more so than a developer level. So there has been multiple chinks in the iron and the multiple chinks in the actual like armor set than has ever been on a game that I've seen. Now, I've seen other games fall, like DayZ Standalone, where they've had literally 5 to 6 years of just development. And they've had the hardest time throughout everything to do anything because they had one of their lead creator designers just leave. And then they had to pick up the paces, make a whole new engine because of how bad it was. And then they had to do that, and then they released it to Xbox. I mean, DayZ Standalone is in such a better place right now than it was years ago. But does that deserve a right to be in EA for 6 years? Most people left and jumped ship, even though they did see a few things prior. They would rather go to another company that will give a shit, that works for it, and will make sure that it has a long and successful life right out the gate, instead of being like, all right, let's see how long it's going to take to develop. No, most people have the attention span of a goldfish, and they will make sure that they will play their game, and they will express their opinions very truthfully on Steam forums, on the reviews, on videos. First impressions are everything when it comes to a game, especially when you see it out in the market. That's why when you see the reviews for Funcom, what has been happening on the Reddit post, as well as everything else, when people truthfully and want their game to be fixed. And just like with what I was talking to with a couple other big content creators, is that they wanted to have a castle-like game where they could actually do everything that they have, a castle-like structure. But then it failed because of certain issues. You could make a castle, but it would be easily raidable. You could have an RP thing, but it would be easily raidable. Most of the Conan Exile community was PvPers. There was a lot of the community that came from Rust and came from Ark. And they kind of hodgepodged and saw the difference in between. And then some just hopped back to Rust and some hopped back to Ark, or some even went to Scum like myself. Honestly, that is what you see, is that when your core gameplay and your game base has left, most of the official servers are PvP, PvE conflict, or PvE. And those servers are the ones that are going for it. But when you have as your title roleplay, what are you going to be having for this type of game? This is not meant to be a roleplay game. It hasn't functionally been there, but there's different types of players. You have the role player, you have the hardcore PvPer, you have the casual PvPer, then you have actual grinder, which you have to do for thralls. I mean, it goes back to like even doing dinos as well for this kind of stuff. But there's a player for everybody. And when a developer doesn't address the big picture, it mainly goes to like RP servers and content creator servers or private servers and stuff like that, without going to a big official server, helping out the community that way, seeing on how the community can be toxic or has the right to be toxic based on what is designed in the engine and what is designed as in placeables. You can foundation grief. There's been multiple servers that have been foundation griefing. They thought that they got rid of duping, but they literally just made it a little bit harder. You can still dupe gods, you can dupe dragon powder, you can dupe everything in this game still to this day. Key fundamental issue that has been there since the beginning of the game. And I'm a more relaxed tone when it comes to this now, because I've accepted that this game is going to probably never be fixed. And a lot of people have moved on and they've made content elsewhere. And there's so many other games that are going to be coming out on the survival series that has that ability to catch people's attention. And I say this to everybody that has subscribed to me. The 2,000 plus people that have subscribed to me because of my Conan Exiles content. I am going to be completely and utterly honest with you when it comes to on how I feel. And if you unsubscribe to me because I'm not going to be making that much more Conan Exiles content, I can understand. I can completely understand. But I'm not going to alienate you and be like these other YouTube content creators that will just skip over and just go straight to another game and never tell you why that I left, or tell you why that I have an issue with this type of game because core fundamental issues haven't been fixed. I want to make sure that everything that I have will be addressed. So my final thought to all of this is that if this game is going to still be developed, and I ask this out of the bottom of my heart when it comes to this game. 1, if your netcode does not get fixed, you're not going to see that many people come back. Period. Because there's nothing to prevent foundation griefing. There's nothing to prevent just complete and utter annihilation of servers because of what you're rendering. 2, when you are fixing something that is an issue, like duping of any item or anything whatsoever, disable the function first. See what's the core issue, program it in C++, and then leave it at that. Don't put it in a pack file, because a pack file can be exploited. Same thing with most of the combat. It can be exploited. There's still combos that you can still have bleeds on all of your weapons. As long as you don't get injured, you can stack 7 to 8 bleeds on something like a 2-handed sword. And then you have on top of that, which is being able to turn off all combat because of an in-game exploit. You can turn off all of combat with an in-game exploit. You can crash the server 6 different ways with just doing other things. You can do it with a shrine. You can do it with a thrall, but they're fixing it. You can do that with like inventory space. You can do that with a body that's on the floor. You can do that with a lot of different things to just crash the server because it'll send too much data to transfer between a player character and a placeable or a previous character or something like that, because of how the fundamental portion of transferring just crashes the server. That's not even everything that I do know myself. On top of everything, I might just have the biggest flack when it comes to the management, when just anything. I've honestly been frustrated, but I wanted to make this video for you guys, for every one of my subscribers that subscribe to me and turn on that bell icon because of Conan Exiles content, on how much memes that have been here throughout all of Conan Exiles, throughout how much change the combat has happened, through how much nerfs that everybody has had to deal with, and how many friends that I've made throughout all the Discord channels, as well as every person that I've ever been with on Conan Exiles myself. And I honestly say thank you for all your experiences on Conan Exiles. I might come back later, but at this current state, I just cannot. I really can. I've even had the developers like message me to be like, "Hey, you wanna try to figure out some things on Test Live to see what's broken?" I'm just like, do I really have the time to fix these things? And I won't announce that person that's a developer because I have trusted DMs with that developer, and he's been a very nice person to me. And just like with anybody that has personally PM'd me as a developer on Scum, Conan Exiles, Daisy Standalone, and everything else, I don't release that kind of stuff because that's private conversations. They're not meant to be recorded unless they want to be recorded for people. And I say that personally because I respect their work. I really do. I respect what they try to do because they actually honestly believe in the game that they want to put out. And I will say that no matter what. But do I need to agree with everything that they do? No, not at all. That's why I am making this video, because I'm just like, I'm really frustrated in this kind of development that I've personally seen. And I've had people say, you can do better. I'm just like, no, I don't want to do game development. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I want to do AI programming and machine learning, deep learning, and then linear regression. I want to be able to change the world in my own way instead of a game. It takes a passion to make a game. It takes a passion for anything. And I give them their neck to stick out for it. At least they have as what they wanted to do. They nailed the idea. They honestly nailed the idea. They sold me on Conan. That's why I got it, and I was playing it. They gave me copies for it for Xbox. I was going to ask for PS4, but then I bought my own copy for PS4 as well. And I wanted to see how everyone was doing on all platforms. And I've had multiple times that people have asked in the comment section, hey, I want to announce my server. Hey, I want to do this. Some people were more rude than others, but I mean, that couldn't really happen as much because of how the YouTube community is, especially the Conan Exiles community, because there's so many people that are just mass exodus leaving that it's not even funny to see anymore. Honestly, guys, what you guys are going to see now is that I might be doing some Conan Exiles, like I said earlier, but I'm probably going to be doing a lot of scum content as well, and then probably covering like a little bit of the new stuff for Conan Exiles, if they do make vast improvements for everything. And I do ask the people that are in the community that still play this game, that still love this game, because they love the grind, they love doing it, they love the lore, they love the PvP and everything else. And that's fine. I'm completely okay with it. Play whatever game that you're wanting to play. I'm just telling you my personal view take. If you guys like this, I mean, like, subscribe, and if you honestly think that I'm wrong, you can unsubscribe, but I'm not going to tell people of what to play and what not to play, but my personal experiences. Have a good one, guys.